On All Over Barter Cricket today, we're going to discuss 3 ODI centuries in the top end. Very unusual event. How often has it been done, etc. England's first test team in Perth. The day Blewy nearly finished my very, very good career in Perth. And Bharat Sundaresan joins us from the Adelaide Hills because the big DOS is in India cooking, which is something we can also discuss. Hello, I'm James Brayshaw, and joining me, one of the two legends, Greg Blewett. Welcome, Blewy.
Hello, James. And what man down? Where's the big DOS?
I don't know, mate. He's a law unto himself. He's just taken off to India. And I thought when he said I'm going, it'd be right. I'm over there doing some IPL or some cricket or so. He's cooking.
Well, I think he's going over there filling his pockets as well, James. I think he had a speaking engagement. Then he was going to go see his beautiful daughter, Grace, over there. Right. I don't even know whether he's made it to see his daughter yet. Yep. I actually thought he might have been headed to Turkey after India as well and try and sort that hairline out as well, James. But we'll have to wait and see.
He's from the neck up, he's a walking mess. Like the amount of people after last week that said to me, what was the glasses? What's happened to his eyes? Like, you know, we can say this about him because he's not here, Bluey. They all said, look, he's not a particularly aesthetically striking man in the first place. But last week, what was he doing? I'm like, he's a law unto himself. Speaking about that part of the world, end of the ODI series against Sri Lanka, against South Africa, 300s, Travis Head, Mitch Marsh, Cam Green in the same game, Bluey. It doesn't happen very often. 400 doesn't happen very often. The boys filled their boots.
Oh, it was absolute carnage, wasn't it? And I suppose it was a good way for the Aussies to finish the series. Let's not forget that South Africa, of course, won that short ODI series. It was a 3-gamer. So, yeah, a good way. And I think Australia, importantly as well, found a way of winning batting first because Mitch Marsh could not lose a toss and continued to always bowl second, I think because of the dew factor. Or sorry, bat second because of the dew factor. But they batted first, and my God, it was some serious batting. I mean, Travis Head, we know that he's capable of that, but it was also, I think, an important game for Trav as well because he hadn't really been amongst the runs, so that'll give him a little bit of confidence as well. Mitch Marsh, of course, another 100 for him, but. Mate, the batting of Cam Green, James, like that was some serious clean hitting for him. And I think importantly for the summer, I think he finished off the West Indies tour really well. And I think just that innings and that series as well, I just see him growing in confidence every single game at the moment since his return from injury. So I think that's a great sign for the Australians and Cam Green. I can see him growing in front of our eyes. Like even when he's speaking to the media, just the way he's going about it. So, but that was carnage, mate. 430 runs in an ODI game. Unbelievable.
Well, you know, I don't tend to live in the stats world of cricket. I know a lot of people do, but I don't tend to. But I did have a bit of a look at 300s in an ODI because it doesn't happen very often, as we said. 5th time it's happened, Bluey. And the one that jumped out of the page to me was 2015 South Africa v. the West Indies in Johannesburg. 2 for 439, South Africa. Hashim Amla, Riley Russo, both making hundreds. But what about this man? AB de Villiers, 149 from 44 pills.
Mr. 360.
What the hell?
Yeah. That is some serious batting. And he recently actually made a return to cricket, AB de Villiers, playing in a sort of, hit and giggle thing, a Masters tour in the UK that I think South Africa went on to win in the final. He basically made 100 every time he batted in that. And a lot of people saying he should still be playing IPL cricket, AB de Villiers. He was an absolute gun, wasn't he? Averaged well over 50 in Test match cricket, over 50 in ODI cricket, and then absolutely tore it up when he played T20 cricket as well. But That is quite remarkable. 2 for 439. And Johannesburg, we know the ball flies around there because that ground is at altitude, and the ball pings. That's where a lot of the best fast bowling's been recorded as well. Some of the fastest balls ever recorded. Sean Tate, Shoaib Akhtar. So, but when are we going to see 500? Well, I reckon can't be that far off.
That's just a tick under 9 and over, by the way. His 100 came up in 33 balls, which I think is still an ODI record. I used to love it, Bluey. He'd give himself, which I think Maxi's, based a lot of his game around, he'd give himself that little bit of a body room. So he'd leave his right foot on middle and leg, but get the left out sort of facing mid-wicket. And then that hockey slap where the ball literally would go anywhere. It was just incredible. I still can't get my head around 2 for 439. Imagine being in the bowling team. Speaking of which, you and I played in a Shield game, I reckon it was in 95, 96, around there somewhere, in Adelaide against Victoria, where 4 of us made hundreds, Paul Nobes, yourself, Darren Lehman, and myself. It was baking hot, was my memory, and it was as flat as that pitch must have been up in Cairns. And all I know, Bluey, was there were 3 very good hundreds made out of those 4. And then the 4th 100 made by myself was dog shit.
Well, what happened? If it was a flat pitch, what happened?
I don't know. I sat there because I was batting 5 by that stage. I sat there and watched you 3 peel them off. And I thought, by the time I get in, it was like 3 for 320 or something. So I thought, well, this can't be too hard. And then I walked out and for the first 45 minutes, couldn't recognise the middle of the bat. The only thing I remember about it was firstly how hot it was and how badly I was batting. And secondly, this is how bad I was batting. Merv, I reckon, Blewy was in his last year. And if he was ticking it over 130, he was only just getting it over 30. So the once proud warrior had dropped back to being, nowhere near as fast or as dangerous. And it's flat. So he comes in and bowls me a bouncer. There's a surprise. I get through the hook shot, which I wasn't great at. I get through it, miss the ball, and it just goes conk on the top of my head, down to third man. So, and that's obviously a run. So I go through and I cop the normal Merv spray. And at this stage, I'd been playing against him for a decade, and he'd sprayed me for a decade, and I'm batting like a busted ass. So as I run through, he gives me the kitchen sink again. I said to him, listen, you fat shit, unless you're going to come up with something different, shut the you-know-what up, because I've had enough of it. And he got this sort of almost cross-eyed look on his face, Bluey. He looked at me and said, all right, James. And that was it. He didn't say another word. But the funniest bit about it was we finished today's play. He comes into the change room afterwards, or we go into their change room. He walks up to me and he says, why didn't you just say that 10 years ago? I wouldn't have said anything to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you believe that?
Right. No, I don't. But anyway, I couldn't have hit him worse. It's one of those ones where you walk off having made 100, but there's nothing good about it.
Well, James, that's, all those good players, you don't have to be at your best to make runs. So, you obviously toughed it out and got 100. But I remember that game as well because it was stinking hot. And we should be saying it was a, seeming nightmare and we all batted our socks off to get 100. But that was my second consecutive 100 against Victoria. And the season before, I made 268 at the MCG. Yes. And Merv must have known that we were good mates because he used to pick on me as well when I first started.
Good. I'm glad he picked on someone else.
Early in that innings, Damien Fleming, who, believe it or not, used to bowl quite quick when he was younger.
I don't believe it.
He hit me in the head when I was about 12, and I had those little side pieces on, no grill, just the little side pieces, and basically blew my eardrum out. I had to have an operation at the end of the year. Wouldn't be surprised if I was concussed as well. Anyway, I batted on. This is at the MCG, got to 50, and I was like sheepish, put the bat up.
Yep.
And I just hear Merv yelling out from mid-on, mate, I've played over 175 first-class games, and that is the worst 50 I've ever seen. And I'm like, all right, no worries. Got to 100, and there's Merv. That's the worst 100 I've ever seen. And then it went on. That's the worst 150, worst. And as I'm walking off, 268, I was the last man out, and he goes, that is the worst 260 out, 268 I've ever seen. But anyway, fast forward to that game in Adelaide. I remember I hit Merv for 3 4s in a row, pitched up through the covers. He dropped, and he's snarling away. He's still having a crack at me. He's snarling away. And he's hot and sweaty. I reckon it was 40 degrees. Next ball, pitched a little bit short, hit him through mid-wicket for 4, and he's coming down. He's puffing and panting. I'm thinking he's going to rip my bloody head off. And then the next ball, on the up, straight back past him, and he came about a metre away from him, and he's looking me in the eye, and there's, sweat dripping off his moustache, and there's snot dripping out of his nose. And he just looked at me, and I'm like, what is he going to say here? And he went, fuck, you're good. And then he just turned around and walked away. And that was it. Same thing. Never said anything else to me after that.
Well, the funny bit about that one in Melbourne, and this shows you how the times have changed. When you got hit in the head, I'd already got out, surprisingly enough. So I'm sitting in the rooms with Potsy Weber, and you get clunked in the head, and then the doctor goes out and the physio goes out, and this is break in play for like 10 minutes. I turned to Potsy and I said, Bluey's laying it on a bit thick, isn't he? We've all been hit in the head. Just get on with it, you dickhead. And then you came in at lunch and you said to the doctor, mate, I can't hear anything. And the doctor had a look in your ear, was full of blood.
Yeah, but for the rest of that innings, could not hear out of my, just the constant ringing in my left ear. And every morning I went to the Victorian doctor and I said, Doc, there's something going on. He kept looking. No, you've obviously been hit in the ear, but you're fine. And I remember the next day, after the game, flying back to Adelaide, and same thing, it was a really hot day. And I thought, I'll jump in the pool. And honestly, the pain in my ear, and then went to our doctor, and he said, well, mate, you've got no eardrum left. And I said, well, I kept asking the Victorian doctor, and he kept telling me there was nothing wrong. So, anyway, at the end of the year, had to have a bloody operation. I was had to wear a turban, basically looking thing for about 3 or 4 weeks afterwards. But, Damien Fleming, eh?
We still think there was a bit of carry on. You're adding a bit of extra. Mate, speaking of being crook, right, that same year, I reckon you were in the test team. We played a Shield game in Perth, and you had given me, because we roomed together everywhere, you had given me irritable bowel syndrome.
Which is impossible.
No, you did. I ended up with it because you had it. And so you've given it to me. I can't get off the toilet. Like literally, I would sit there and then I'd think, right, half an hour later, I'm ready to go. I'd get up and then go, oh, no, I've got to sit back down again. So we're in Perth playing a Shield game at the Wackate. As I say, I don't reckon you were playing. And I'm batting 5, and we got off to a decent enough start. So, we're 2 down. And then I'm thinking, right, I'm actually next in, and I'm on the toilet, and I couldn't get off the toilet. So I get up, and then I'm down. And it's not easy to do, Bluey, when you got your thigh pad on and all your stuff. No. It's not a lot of fun. So I'm literally going, I've just got to get off the toilet. As I'm sitting there, the Wacker, you've got that corridor, and then the run out to the race out to the ground. As I'm sitting there, I've got everything open trying to hear. I hear the, hey! I'm like, oh, no, we've lost a wicket. So I try and scramble up, and then I'm like, no, I can't. I can't. So I sit there. I hear a player coming in, so I don't know who that was, but he's out. So I sit there thinking, right, come on, mate, you got to finish this up and get up there. As I'm sitting there, hey, we've lost another one. So I've gone from batting 5 to 7, and then we lost 3 in a row. By the time I'd got my act together, hey, another one. So by that stage, I literally walked straight out of our dressing room from the toilet, straight down the race, and walk past whoever it was. And as you know, all those WA blokes I'd played with and were great mates of mine, Moods and BJ and JL and Gilly and Marto and all of them. And they're all looking at me like, where have you been? And I've been sitting on the toilet. And and B just giving it I knew you used to shit yourself, mate, but I didn't know it was like literally. I'm like, what? I couldn't leave the toilet. I've been sitting there for an hour and a half. So that was the last game of the year, and that was your fault.
Well, I heard as well that was around the second new ball time as well, and you didn't fancy the second new ball. You wanted it to be about 10, 15 overs old before you went out there.
This is the right time to bring this man into our show. I love him. I love the way he writes about cricket. I love the way he broadcasts on cricket. I like the way he sees cricket. I speak of Bharat Sundaresan. He joins us from the Adelaide Hills. Bharat, welcome to All Over Bar the Cricket.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, guys. And I thought you also liked the way I dress, JB. I thought, especially I'm in my vest era, so it's perfect weather as well to be in a colorful vest. It's raining, it's pouring, and the dogs are indoors.
Of all the things I like about you, that probably comes in a bit lower than the other ones. What have you been doing, please? What's the winter look like for Bharat Sundaresan?
Well, for the longest time, this used to be my off-season when I was not away on a cricket tour. So I did the World Test Championship final at Lord's and then went to the Caribbean for the 3 test matches because someone had to. Blewy was there as well. But then my off-season's now turned into my AFL season because I've been doing a lot of work with the AFL and we bumped into each other during the AFL, JB, and we done stuff with some of the clubs as well. So the last thing I did write was not a cricket piece, but it was a tribute piece to Travis Boak for the AFL website last week.
Yep. What a bloody star. Well, Blewy and I have got lots of questions for you because you're the voice of reason attached to this show today. In fact, it's good, Blewy, to speak to someone who actually has got a reasonable ability to think and speak, unlike the bloke we normally deal with. So Bharat, Cam Green, we hear and read, is about to start bowling in Shield cricket, and we all hope that goes well because he's a weapon when he can bowl flat out. If he can sustain that, what does that mean for the Aussie team in Perth? What does it mean for Beau Webster, do you think?
Personally, I think if Cam Green does start bowling, and I've been seeing him work on his bowling loads, going back to Lords when he first joined or rejoined the Australian team, had that short stint in county cricket. And from that point on, his bowling loads have just increased. Every practice session that Australia had, it would finish with him, or even while it was on, once he was done batting, and he does bat for a long time these days, he's replaced Marnus as the guy who never leaves the nets. And then he would go and have a long bowl. And now we've heard that he's going to bowl in Shield cricket, or he should be ready to bowl by the time the Shield season's on. If he's bowling, and because he's the kind of bowler who Australia like to use for the short pitch ploy, and you'd think that against this English batting lineup, like we saw in the 2023 Ashes, that ploy will be used at some point. I don't know whether as keen as Australia are to have him in that top 4 in the long run, if he's coming back into bowling and he's going to be the one who's going to bowl 7 overs of bounces, for example, is number 3's position, would you be better off at just pushing him in at number 6? And the other reason I say that is, as of now, I know Marnus didn't have a great one-day series. I think Australia still look at Marnus being that guy at number 3, him scoring runs in Shield cricket. And if they can get the best of Marnus, they still feel that this team's more balanced. Because it is a luxury to have both Green and Webster in the side, in my opinion. And Beau Webster's done nothing wrong so far to be left out. I just get a feeling that if Cam Green is bowling, he pushes down to 6, and probably Marnus comes in the number 3 if he scores runs in the Shield.
So, Blewy, I know you have regard for the talent of Cam Green, and Bharat's 100% spot on. Beau Webster's done nothing wrong. I just don't see Cam Green as a long-term test match number 3. I think his game is so much better suited to being down the order a bit.
Yeah, well, I think he could easily, more long term. I think he's a 4, number 5.
Yep.
But I think for this series, I'm thinking probably worst case scenario, Bharat, if Marnus Labuschagne doesn't do well in those Shield games, then what do they do? And I think if Marnus doesn't make runs, and I think he's got to make a lot of runs to play in that first Australian Test team, then I think they're just going to have to bite the bullet, the Australians, and bat Cam Green at 3 and keep Beau Webster in the side. I actually like Beau Webster's point of difference with the ball as well.
Yep.
We know that, Cam Green's got a bit of airspeed and he gets a bit of bounce, but Beau Webster's got these, subtle little differences. I love his catching. I like his aggression batting at number 6 as well. So I suppose my question to you, Bharat, is, what if Marnus doesn't do well in those opening Shield games? What will Australia do?
I think you have a point there. They have committed to, and from whatever we've heard from the selectors, nobody's hinted that he's going to drop down to 6. It's us, like on the outside, who are talking about that being an option. And I think they want him in the top 4. And I think it all goes back to last year, right? When Steve Smith vacated number 4 and said, no, I want Cam Green and I want to open, but I want Cam Green back in a position that is best suited for him. It felt like, and when he made that 100 in Wellington, it felt like, yeah, what a great move. This is going to serve Australia brilliantly in the long run. Well done, Steve Smith. But then Steve Smith drops back to number 4, and then he's had this dream run since that Gabbatoir. So he's not going to vacate number 4. I think ideally, in an ideal world, you have Steve Smith at 3 and Cam Green at 4. It kind of makes sense. And then we are not even having this debate right now. And then Marnus is on the outer, or the only way he can come back into the side is probably as an opener. But because now we have Steve Smith at 4 and Travis Head at 5, they're fixed positions. We are having this challenge almost of finding a number 3, because nobody really comes across as a natural number 3 in the people who are in the squad right now. I mean, you can talk of Nathan McSweeney or others who are not in the squad right now, or not in the picture at the moment. But I think if there is some flexibility, then it would work. But Steve Smith I asked him like before the Lord's Test, I said, hey, what about number 3? He shot it down. He didn't even let me finish that sentence. So I think, I mean, they might just go ahead and stick with Cam Green and Beau Webster the way it is. But I still feel it is a luxury to have. I mean, we had Green and Marsh together, but Green and Webster at this point just still feels like a luxury in a top order, which is still very, very floaty at the moment.
Well, let's talk about that top order. I read an article the other day that was saying potentially that Campbell Kellaway was an option to bat at the top of the Australian order in this series. This is not a personal thing against Campbell Kellaway, a fine young man and a talented young player. But Bharat, I had a look at his numbers. He's played 31, I think, or 32 first-class games. He's made 200s at an average of 32. So 15 years ago, that doesn't get you in an Australia 8. In fact, you don't keep your place in a Shield team. So how has it got to the point where someone with that body of work is legitimately being spoken about as an opener in an Ashes series?
Well, at least with Campbell Kellaway, JB, you're talking about someone who just opened the batting in an Australia A game. I heard reports and hints about Mitch Owen after he made a 50 in that T20 in the Caribbean. Tim David has been spoken of. See, the two ways of looking at it. I'll take you into the journalist's mind right now. It's football season. If you're going to write a cricket story and you're going to write about someone batting at number 6, nobody's going to carry it. So the hot topic in cricket is the opening position. So this is a great time to be an Australian cricketer who can hold a bat. I'm surprised that they aren't bringing Greg Blewett back. I'm going to write that piece maybe tomorrow. Why not, right? I mean, he opened against India alongside Michael Slater. I remember 99 2000.
Just got to stop chopping on. Just not.
That is the problem.
Now, Blue, Jason Sangha, we saw make a great 100 in the Shield final. Is he someone potentially that could bat in the top 3 for Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he's probably going to feature at the start of the summer, but I think he's a real talent. And, we talk about guys like Sam Constas being these brilliant players as juniors. Well, Jason Sangha was exactly the same. And then, of course, got a contract with New South Wales and things just didn't work out for him. But he was at one stage the next big thing as well. So his, as I said, that didn't work out in New South Wales, comes to South Australia, doesn't play for the first half of the season that he comes to South Australia, has to earn his spot through second 11 cricket, grade cricket, gets his chance and absolutely dominated, finishing off with a century in the Shield final. Now, he adds a lot to any team. He bowls handy leg spin and is a very good fielder as well and loves the game of cricket. So, yes, potentially, I think down the track, he's definitely, whether he's an opener can be debated, but definitely in the top 3, top 4 going ahead. But I want to ask Bharat about who you think is going to open the batting for Australia, because probably at the moment, Jake Weatherald is probably favourite, I think. And I know that Marnus Labuschagne is being spoken about as an opener as well, but is there any chance they'll go back to someone like a Marcus Harris or a Bancroft?
I personally would be surprised if they went back that way. I know they get a lot of support in Victoria, Marcus Harris in particular. Cam Bancroft, I mean, the support for him seems to have died down a little bit. But the question is, I think it's an open season. To be honest, anyone who makes runs in this Shield season, if you're in the top 3, like we saw last year, Nathan McSweeney was brought in as opener, you are in with a shot. Jake Weatherall, as of August 28th, or end of August, he seems to be on top of that pecking order, you'd think. But that could change. That could change very quickly even if you're a Henry Hunt, who not many are talking about right now. I think what the selectors have been worried about, and we saw that as soon as they dropped Nathan McSweeney, they brought in someone who would be the next factor in Constis, and it kind of came off in Melbourne, is I think, and we've spoken so much of Usman Khawaja's opening partner, but I mean, I would personally wish that Usman Khawaja finishes his career in grand fashion, Ashes winner at the SCG. But I wouldn't be surprised if the opening combination that starts the Ashes doesn't end the Ashes. And it could even mean probably Khawaja missing out if he doesn't get off to a flyer in this Ashes series, especially those first 3 tests. And obviously results will have a role to play with that as well. But as of today, Jake Weatherall is in, but it could be anyone at the moment. That's great for us Sheffield Shield fans, because we can just sit and watch all 3 games in tandem at the same time. And if you make 100, you're going to get your name out there.
It becomes a bat-off. I saw where Stuart Broad, Blewy, has said the Poms must have Archer and Wood fit and playing in that first test in Perth. And I thought to myself, well, that's got a little bit of Captain Obvious about it, but I know where he's coming from, Broady, and that is the last time they were here, Bharat, they decided in their wisdom to leave Broad and Anderson out of the first test, to which Bumble from the north of England came on the 7 coverage and said, that's an interesting tactic. Leave your best 2 bowlers out and let's see how we go. So I hope I'm with Broady. I hope those 2 play in that test, because it's going to be bouncy and hard and fast, and I want it flying.
I mean, there's no way they're not playing. If they're fit, they're playing. And I think we're going to see that with everything England do in this Ashes, which is going to be so different to what they did 4 years ago. And that was the most depleted touring team, forget about Ashes, I've ever seen. Depleted team from anywhere going anywhere else. And I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. And baseball for me, I mean, it comes about because of the humiliation, not just, England have come here and lost so often, but they were humiliated. And at one point, I remember posting a video of Rory Burns hopping on one leg and practicing batting at the MCG. And I remember that video went viral. I mean, I just thought it was something new that they were trying, but they were clueless by the end of it. So baseball is born out of that. And whatever England have done in the last 4 years, it's all about this WrestleMania main event for them. It ends here. Like, they have to finish the story here. If they don't win and if they get beaten badly here, baseball is over, right? Like, what's the point? And we've seen that with Ben Stokes' form. We've seen that with the fact that, in a big series like the one against India, they just brought Archer back after 1 test. They were going with younger fast bowlers, because it all comes down to this Ashes. Even 2023, when we went to England, I think it was all about, hey, Australia, look, we have this new weapon. Not to beat you here. I mean, yeah, it'll be great if we do that. But this is what we're going to bring to your shores to make up for the humiliation from 4 years ago. So I think that's in a pro wrestling angle. It's been 4 years long. It's worked over a long time, and if it works out, it works out. So they'll throw everything at it. Ben Stokes' body is almost gone. You'd seen it breaking apart in that India series. So they will give it their all. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a slew of retirements as well from England. If this goes either way, whichever way it goes, it's all about this. So yeah, Wood and Archer will play till they break down.
Bharat, that's the huge concern for me for England. I mean, their batting is really settled, but their bowling attack, I mean, I've got huge concerns around their fitness. I mean, the Australians are so durable with our big three quicks, and even, Scotty Boland in the sheds waiting if there is an injury. But you spoke about Ben Stokes, who was probably their best bowler in that Indian series. He's a chance of breaking down at any stage. Mark Wood, Jofra Archer have had huge injury concerns. So I just wonder how they're going to navigate their way through an Ashes series, 5 test matches in Australia on rock-hard pitches.
I mean, what are the odds that Stuart Broad comes out of retirement, leaves the 7 box and plays the 4th test? I'm not ruling it out. Just throwing it out there. You're right. I mean, that it'll come down to that. And I think the one difference we'll see from this England team with the bat is they'll keep coming at Australia. I think last few series, whether it's the Mitchell Johnson one or even the one after that, we've seen them surrender. I mean, they've waved the white flag and then players have gone back, or just generally the batting's just lost it. I mean, they've really given up. But I think this team won't give up, so they'll keep coming hard at Australia. I think there will be collapses, but there'll also be times when they'll dominate the Australian bowling as good as they are. But if they won't be able to win a series without their bowlers staying fit. I mean, the only time they have won in the last many years is when they had a fit bowling attack in 2010-11. Australia was going through a transition. But we've seen that with India as well. I mean, the 2 series that they won here, it was on the back of their bowlers. The batting was up and down. I mean, we had the Pujara series, but if you can't take 20 wickets, or if you can't take 20 wickets in 3 out of 5 tests, you're not going to really win much in Australia. But for that, yeah, I mean, if it comes down to, Bryden Carrs, who I think has a bit about him, but if by the 4th test we are into that mix of the English bowling, then they are in big trouble. So if they got Wood to play most of the tests last time. They'll need that. But even if they can get 3 tests out of Archer, I think the series is going to be really interesting.
Got a fact check from a previous show, Blewy. Someone on Instagram said it's 38 years since in England have only won 1 test series in Australia, not 48. So I bid off an extra 10. They've won 2 series in 48 years. Fair enough to that. Well played to that man. Now, I know, Bharat, you love your American documentaries. I love them too. The NFL, the receiver, the quarterback. They've now got America's team about the Cowboys, the SEC for the college football. They just do it brilliantly. Drive to Survive is brilliant. The Aussie team, and I know you watch this too, Blue, the Aussie team did a couple called The Test. The bit that was missing for me, Bharat, about those series was there wasn't enough of the banter in the dressing rooms. It was too serious and too dry. If we're going to do this again, and I hope we do because they're just brilliant to watch, take the cameras and the mics into the dressing rooms and enjoy what actual cricket's about, which is the smack spoken between the players in the dressing room. Do you agree?
Very much so. I thought you were going to say the one thing missing was me on camera, but that's okay. I'm sure you meant that as well.
I did mean that as well.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think this particular dressing room in particular, I mean, there is such camaraderie and it's such a familial setting because they played so long with each other. And you see the even before and after test matches, there's a lot of family, kids and wives, and there is so much harmony in this team. That needs to come out, and I'm completely with you. And also because a lot of these guys go and play in leagues outside the IPL, for example, now in the last 2 years, with the social media platforms for each IPL team have become so much more prominent. They're used to cameras following them around compared to, your era when you played or even when Blewy was playing. So I think that needs to come through a lot more. The banter you mentioned and almost built characters. Like by the end of this documentary, I want to know who Scott Boland is behind the scenes.
So, Blewy, the reason I'm passionate about this is 99.9% of people, myself included, will never get to play a game for Australia. So if you ask them then, the next thing they want to experience is what it's like to be in that dressing room. Well, just once, if I could sit in an Australian dressing room after a day's play and hear what goes on, I would love to experience that. Now, no one's going to be able to. They're pretty tightly held spaces. But if you do a doco where we can see a bit of that, I think Bharat's right. I think suddenly a Josh Hazlewood, for instance, who none of us really know particularly well, would come through the screen as the legend he is.
Yeah, 100%. And if I was a guy that didn't know some of the Australian players as well as probably what we do, then it would give a great insight into how they act and often, and we were just as guilty as that, James, and probably Bharat when you played cricket as well. You always get this sense of what people are like on the opposition side, and you form these opinions. But then when you play in the same team or you get to know them better, they're completely different. And these sort of docos have got a great opportunity for these stories to come out. And I suppose the frustrating thing there, JB, is all that vision would be there. It's just the way that they put them together and what story they want to sell. Because as Bharat said, these cameras and microphones are everywhere now. So the players wouldn't even know that they're getting recorded half the time. So maybe that's the evolution of these docos, and hopefully that's the way they go next time.
And if I can just jump in there, especially in a country like Australia, I think because of my cultural background in India, from the time, even before the internet came along, everybody knew everything about most Indian cricketers because of just the exposure you get over there. But here I almost feel like because football is, whether it's NRL or AFL, because it's so dominant, I don't think a lot of casual cricket fans know enough about the Australian cricketers. And this is a great opportunity, or will be a great opportunity to expose that. I mean, expose the likes of Hazlewood and Nathan Lyon, who've been playing for so long, to the casual cricket fan and you can drag more people into watching sport, like Drive to Survive did with F1.
Yep. All right, I've got the final over here, Blewy. Now, Bharat hasn't done a final over with us yet. This is rapid fire.
Ooh.
So we work with the DOS, of course, so we just try and shorten him up a little bit because the big man gets rolling and then he's over here and then he ends up over here. And so we got some rapid fire. We want you involved in this, Bharat. So both opinions I want here. Pink ball in Brisbane this year. Has that been done to re-establish the Gabbatoir? Blewy?
I don't think so, no. I think it's just maybe Adelaide, who have run an unbelievable product for a long period of time. Maybe they've put their hand up to Cricket Australia saying, for this particular series, we'd love a day test match. Going forward, Adelaide will host a lot more day-night test matches. So I think that would probably be the scenario of why that the pink ball test matches have fallen the way they have. Going forward, I wouldn't mind seeing a pink ball test match in Sydney for the last test match with the pink test match because of the Jay McGrath and the McGrath Foundation. So, and obviously the pitch has changed a little bit in Sydney as well. It's grassier, so I think you could possibly do it in Sydney as well. But I think maybe this season it's just because Adelaide might have wanted a day game.
I'm going to be very selfish here, JB and Blewy. I think it's been done so that Bharat Sundaresan, can go to the pub and have 2 pints while I cover my home tests and get home. Because I miss out every year. All these other journalists come, they're having breakfast here. I'm mowing the lawn, taking the dogs out. And then when play finishes, I have to rush home because no, I don't want to drag my wife into it, but she's like, come home. So it's all been done for my sake.
Yeah.
I love it. And by the way, a day test in Adelaide is a beautiful thing. Has the standard of umpiring improved since DRS came into the game, Bharat?
Well, I was, as a Secusa accredited umpire, I was at a workshop just 3 days ago, and they threw numbers at us. Apparently, it's the percentage, I think it's 25% of umpiring decisions which have been overturned since DRS came into being, or since India started using the DRS, 14 years ago anyway. I think it's exposed the good umpires, or it's really elevated the good umpires, but it has exposed umpires who aren't up to test quality. And we've seen, I won't name any, but you've seen them drop by the wayside in the last few years.
I think the product's a lot better. And I agree with Bharat. Like you can clearly see the good umpires from the bad umpires. Look, I follow a little bit of social media, and there's an account on Instagram that exposes what they call cheating Australian umpires in the past. And it's mainly against opposition like England and New Zealand. And to see some of the decisions that were given in favour of Australia back then. And, you know, I've toured other places in the world too where the home umpires have been absolutely shocking. So there's no doubt it's definitely a better product that we've got. I think there's too many what do you call it when they go to
Howlers.
the third umpire? Yeah, it's
reviews.
There's not as many howlers, but I think there's too many. You're seeing too many replays, I suppose. Like there's a lot of decisions that take a long time.
Yeah.
All right. What about people who say allow bowlers to tamper with the ball as hard as you like, allow it to get reversed hanging, do whatever you want with the ball, because then the contest between bat and ball around the world will be more even? Should we do that, or should it remain banned, Blewy?
No, absolutely not. No, completely banned. I mean, the players do it in terms of the way that they throw the ball in, and they do it a little bit more discreetly, and the umpires don't really care anymore. So to me, that is a way of sort of, you know, trying to get some reverse swing going. So no, if it was up to you, James, sounds like you'd be happy to get the sandpaper out again and just absolutely go for it. So
no,
but it's a no
when
from me.
When all that furore happened, there was some Bharat who turned around and said, just let them go. Let them do what they want. It'll suddenly get a contest back between bat and ball. Around then, there were lots of runs being made, which maybe aren't now. But your thoughts?
Well, two things. I think that was in 2018, wasn't it? Before the World Test Championship became a thing. And we've seen since the start of the World Test Championship cycles in 2019, pitches have become sportier, so the bat averages have dropped. I always say we are in an era of diminishing batting averages, which is why I thought the Lord's game, the World Test Championship final, was a great reflection of that. I mean, the pitch flattened out and South Africa chased on, whatever. All I would say is, if we do enter an era, or even if there is an allowance for any kind of ball tampering or whatever you want to call it, I would want to see like whatever it's on your body, or like a fingernails being used. And for more men's cricketers to paint their nails like I do, I think that needs to be normalized a lot more. And hey, look, the sponsors are out there. Once you start doing that, maybe you'll start getting sponsors on fingernails. Why not? More ways of making money.
It'd be called ball enhancing, Blewy, maybe, not tampering.
No.
Why do we barrack so hard for English golfers when we want Poms to lose everything else? So Tommy Fleetwood in the FedEx Cup final, I don't know about you, Blewy, I really wanted him to win. He'd played so many USPGA Tour events and hadn't won, and he just looks like a bloody good bloke. Whereas I don't want to see Lando Norris winning. I never wanted Andy Murray to win a tennis match. I don't want England to advance to the quarters in the World Cup soccer. I want them to flat out lose everything, and yet I wanted Tommy Fleetwood to win that event really badly.
Yeah, well, I suppose to point. I mean, I think it was in our last episode that Haydos said English are terrible winners and they're terrible losers as well. So, I mean, I wouldn't quite put them in the same category as Big Haydos. Yes, Tommy Fleetwood, he's had his teeth done as well. What about those teeth?
I know.
Unbelievable. But he seems like a decent bloody human, doesn't he? So I think that's why we wanted him to get over the line. I'm not as cutting as you, James. I think there's a lot of good English people out there, and I don't mind seeing them win every now and then. Yes, the cricket team's a different sort of kettle of fish, but you can't put poor old Andy Murray. What's he done to you?
No, nothing. I just never wanted him to win. But the other one is when the World Cup soccer starts, Bharat, and I know nothing about, as they call it, football, literally nothing, EPL, all the rest of it. When it starts and the Poms get whipped up into a frenzy about their team and then they absolutely crash and don't get anywhere near the finals, for me, there's nothing funnier than that.
I think it's the fun aspect, and I think we see it with other sporting teams as well, don't we? When they end up like not winning anything for a long time, everyone outside wants that to continue. I think it is different with South Africa and that World Test Championship. Yeah, I spoke to a few South African journalists who, as South Africa got closer to the target, they said, what are we going to do now? If they win a World Cup, we have nothing to write about. Like, who's going to pay me money to write about South African cricket? But I think it's similar with that. But no, I'm with you. I mean, even before I moved to Australia, every time England were in a soccer World Cup or a FIFA World Cup, you wanted them to like get close. You wanted like the hopes to build. You wanted the whole it's coming home and all that, and then for it to just crash. I think it's a great part of being a sports fan where you can just like have some popcorn and see these people feel miserable about themselves. We are not nice people.
It's like 59 years or something since they won the World Cup. That said, Blewy, and I want to finish the final over on this, I'm worried. I'm more worried than you. I think this is the best England team that's going to come to Australia for a long time, and they can play on momentum, this England team. So if they roll early, I am worried about this series.
Yeah, but they get hit hard early, don't they? I mean, Perth, then Brisbane. So, or is it Perth, then Adelaide?
No,
I can't
Brisbane.
remember now. Perth, then Brisbane, yeah. So they're going to get hit hard as usual. Look, as I said earlier with Bharat, I'm still concerned with their bowling attack. I'm concerned about their ability to take some wickets with spin as well. I mean, we spoke about our great fast bowlers, but Nathan Lyon bowls beautifully in Australia. So I've still got some concerns around their bowling attack. So Australia's still for me, boys.
The desperation could easily lead to their downfall as well. We saw that in that series against India on flat pitches. They should have won that series. I mean, yes, Harry Brook played a great innings, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on Australian soil. But the way they lost that Oval Test and the way that they really lost themselves when India drew that test in Manchester, I think those are signs which Australia would have enjoyed watching those two last tests and seeing how England kind of should have won 4-1, right? But for them not to win that series, I think those pointers they'll take Australia. And because it's so experienced, this Australian team, especially the bowling aspect of it, I think they'll feed off that. And, we saw that as well. I mean, on that last day at the Oval, it's great viewing as a test match fan, but all India had to do was just leave the ball outside off stump, and England just collapsed. They just fell in a heap. So, and we saw them win the Lord's Test playing differently and winning. So it wasn't baseball at all. So if they can bring different gears and really surprise Australia, then they have a chance. If they're just going to come here and, in fact, I'm going to go against what you said. Like, they're a team who kind of thrive on momentum, but that momentum, I think, is what could, in my opinion, let them down. If they're ready to kind of surprise Australia with almost have sessions where they're not playing baseball, then they could really get Australia thinking. If they're just going to come here and think we're going to bash the ball around on these pitches, I don't think it'll work out.
Blewy, beautiful, Bharat. Eloquent, very smart.
Very good, Bharat. Made some great points in that last answer, but turned into Haydos a little bit. They're meant to be little 30-second tabs, so I think that last one went for about 30 minutes. But apart from that, sensational.
No, thank you so much. Look, I'm stepping into Doss's massive shoes, so I just thought I'd give you a bit of Haydos. Like, I can't just be me all the time.
They're not shoes, Bharat. They're big cowboy boots with crocodile skin on them. That's what they are. Great seeing you. Thank you so much for jumping in. Blewy, love that from you. Check it out on wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, it's called All Over Bar the Cricket, and also YouTube, where you'll see Bharat at his sartorial best.